Hello and welcome to Study IQ. In this lecture, we will discuss about the liberalized remittance scheme. Liberalized remittance scheme. So why has this liberalized remittance scheme become an important current affair now? Because the RBI has issued a notification regarding the liberalized remittance scheme. So RBI says that banks have to put in place a daily reporting system regarding the liberalized remittance scheme, and why this is done in order to improve monitoring and ensure the compliance with the LRS limits. So this is the current affair. But in order to understand what is the current affair exactly, we should know what is liberalized remittance scheme. So let us first move on to what is liberalized remittance scheme and then come back to the current affair. So in India, any money that you send overseas is subject to controls. So whatever money you are sending across the country, that is subject to some controls. Why this control is being initiated? For two reasons. The first thing is excessive outflow of foreign exchange will reduce the foreign exchange reserves in the country. So if you want to send some money to abroad, it means that you are sending foreign exchange to that country. So what will happen? The foreign exchange reserves of the country will come down. This is the first reason why India has imposed certain controls on the overseas remittances. Secondly, this will also destabilize the rupee. So rupee depreciation. Destabilization means depreciation. So remittances means you are sending money across the borders or overseas. So when you are sending your money to some other country, what will happen? You will send in terms of forex or foreign exchange reserves. So the foreign exchange reserves in the country will come down. This is the first impact. And secondly, when more money is going out of the country, when there is more outflow of foreign exchange from the country, this will reduce the demand for the domestic currency, which means the rupee's demand will come down. Therefore, the value of rupee also will come down, which will lead to depreciation and instability in the value of the currency. So for these two reasons, the government of India or the Reserve Bank of India put some control over the remittances abroad. But an economy cannot completely control overseas remittances. So in 2004, the government or the Reserve Bank of India came up with an initiative, and that was known as the liberalized remittance scheme. So in 2004, liberalized remittance scheme was introduced, and under this liberalized remittance scheme, individuals from India can remit money across the border without seeking specific approvals. So without much approvals or procedures, Indians can send their money to abroad. So that was liberalized remittance scheme. Now let us see what are the features or what is liberalized remittance scheme. So under the liberalized remittance scheme, all resident individuals, when we say resident individuals, you must understand that this includes not only major but also minors. So any resident individual, including minors, can freely remit up to 2,50,000 US dollars overseas every financial year. So under the liberalized remittance scheme, any resident can remit their money overseas freely. And what is the limit? Limit is 2,50,000 US dollars every financial year, which means in a year a person can remit up to 2,50,000 US dollars. And this remittance, this can be either to a current account or to capital account. So this can be either in the current or in the capital account. So under the liberalized remittance scheme, individuals can send their money overseas for many purposes like overseas education, travel, medical treatment, and even purchase of shares and property, maintenance of relatives abroad, gifts, donations, etc. So for all these purposes, Indians can remit their money overseas. And what is the limit? 2,50,000 per year, dollars per year. Again, the money remitted can be also used for opening or maintaining accounts. So under the liberalized remittance scheme, Indians can open and maintain foreign currency accounts. They can hold foreign currency accounts with overseas banks for carrying out transaction. So they can also open bank accounts with overseas banks. One thing you should remember here is that remittances for trading on the foreign exchange markets or purchase of foreign currency convertible bonds, this will not come under the liberalized remittance scheme. So what will not come? Remittances for trading in foreign exchange markets and purchase of foreign currency convertible bonds. So these will not come under the liberalized remittance scheme. Also, one important thing you must note here is that sending money to certain countries are barred. So which are those countries? The countries are those identified as non-cooperative by the Financial Action Task Force. So those countries which are identified as non-cooperative by the Financial Action Task Force. Financial Action Task Force. These countries, you cannot remit money to these countries. Also, those countries that are identified as posing terrorist risk. So, terrorist risk posing countries. Also, you cannot transfer the amount or remit the money. Terrorist risk. So, to those countries which are identified as non-cooperative by the Financial Action Task Force and those countries posing terrorist risk. So, to those countries you cannot remit your money. And now, why this liberalized remittance scheme has become an important thing for us? The liberalized remittance scheme is a step towards dismantling controls on foreign exchange movements in and out of the country. So, this is one step and we need to go way ahead in order to achieve complete liberalization on foreign exchange movements in and out of the country. So this is an initial step. So liberalized remittance scheme is considered as an initial step towards liberalized foreign exchange movements in and out of the country. With the liberalized remittance scheme, it has allowed large number of Indians to study abroad, which means parents can now send their money to the children who are studying abroad. It has also helped in diversifying the portfolios. Example, stocks and also owning property. We already said that under the liberalized remittance scheme, one can buy property or invest in stock exchanges abroad. So, this has widened the portfolio. For example, those Indians who have invested in the US stock exchanges in the years 2008, 9, etc., they have earned better returns. And one thing you must remember is that ideally, no liberalized country should adopt capital control. So that is an ideal thing. So there should not be capital control on liberalized countries. But in case of India, why we have adopted this capital controls? We have adopted capital controls for some reasons. Firstly, we are heavily dependent on our imports. So, import dependency. We are heavily dependent on imports, especially for essential commodities like the oil. So, because of our huge dependence on imports, what has happened is that the imports of our country is more than the export, and which has caused a current account deficit. So, widening of current account deficit because of our over dependence on imports than exports. So, already the current account deficit is there in the economy, and if we allow free movement of foreign exchange in and out of the country, what will happen? Remittances will be freed up, and when remittances are freed up, the remittances will increase, which means there will be more outflow of foreign exchange from our country. So when there is more outflow of foreign exchange from our country, what will happen? We have already seen, firstly, it will decrease the foreign exchange reserves in the country, and again this will cause rupee depreciation. We already said that the limit of the LRS in India is now $250,000. You must understand that this is not a fixed amount. So it varies according to the economic scenario. When the exchange rate situation in the country changes, the limit on the LRS also changes. Initially, when we introduced LRS in the year 2004, it was 25,000 US dollars. So now it is 2,50,000. And in the year 2013, India witnessed a huge current account deficit. There was a widening current account deficit in the year 2013. So in that year, the LRS was cut short to $75,000. So when there is an increase in the current account deficit, LRS comes down, and when there is a decrease in the current account deficit, LRS can go up also. So according to the economic scenario or the exchange rate situation, the RBI can change the LRS. or liberalized remittance scheme. So liberalized remittance scheme, LRS in short, gives freedom to put money anywhere in the world. So as Indians, we can put money anywhere in the world through the LRS. Anywhere in the world means except these countries. Those identified as non-cooperative and those pose terrorist risk. So except these countries, Indians can put their money anywhere. They can invest their money anywhere through the LRS. So until India is ready to free all the capital controls, LRS is the most viable solution to legally remit money overseas or foreign exchange overseas.